Dead Ended, Gorod Krovi. Catchiness, 17 out of 20. Fittingness, 6 out of 6. Lore significance, 4 out of 4. Overall, 27 out of 30. A tier. I'm sensing a theme with the Black Ops 3 music. I touched upon it earlier, but it's really showing itself here. 27s across the board so far, minus Shadows, which, got a higher score. And I think it really reflects the idea that all of these songs are very close and could be interchangeable in position in A or S tier. Personally, I think the song is below Dead Again and Dead Flowers, but I could see it moved anywhere in A or S tier around the other two. I mean, Lex's favorite map's Easter egg song, Dead Ending, is the best Nova song, period, in my opinion. His skills really came through, and the undead voice he does in the background is incredible, and I wish he leaned into it more. Same with his screams in the background towards the end of the song. It reminds me of his best parts and We All Fall Down. It's truly a great song, but I do think less catchy than the other two. Only very slightly, and again, in my opinion. It's very profound. I love listening to it. Great song. Fits the map perfectly, but we'll get into that. When it comes to fittingness, ZNS is very similar to how this map does. It's very fitting. The hard metal mixed with the picturesque scene it paints, the hard metal mixed with the picturesque scene paints an image of fire, iron, and blood, which fits Gorod perfectly and is the perfect foil to Zetsubo no Shiba's melancholy, whereas Dead Flowers portrays this image of methodical, slow, hypnotic despair and hypnosis in general. Dead Ended and Gorod Krovi paints this image of anger and bloodshed and fire, and it almost gives the exact same message as ZNS, but in the opposite direction. It's very clever, very interesting, and again, advances the thought process of despair and pushes it into anger. Really spills that idea of hatred that is happening, similar to the blood being spilled. There is this acceptance that the ending is near, but also that burning hatred that there is an ending at all. It is incredible and really shows the inner turmoil within our characters, and it shows a poetic interplay between all of the songs and the maps themselves in Black Ops 3 that is only exemplified by the final map and the final song. Speaking of,
so much of the past has returned, but what of our future?
The Gift. Revelations. Catchiness, 19 out of 20. Fittingness, 5 out of 6. Lore significance, 3 out of 4. Total, 27 out of 30. A tier. Now, this wasn't intentional. Like I said, I didn't pick any of these songs. It was a very random order, so it's very odd that most of Black Ops 3 songs were almost right next to each other and finishing off with The Gift. But to round off these 27s that Black Ops 3 gave us, we have the last 27, I'm pretty sure. The Gift. It truly is a gift as well that ties off Black Ops 3, and I think it is the second best of the 4 BO3 DLC Easter egg songs. It's also crazy, but I'm just realizing that like I said, randomly ranked them all in order, but it's went in the order that they happened. First Snakeskin Boots, then Dead Again, then Dead Flowers, then Dead Ending, and now The Gift. All in Black Ops 3's release order, excluding the Giant. But we barely talk about the Giant anyway, so it's fine. But crazy how that happened. Anyways, the song was incredibly both thematically and catchy. Elena again kills it in her performance, and the music box-like intro really sets the mood. But the drums breaking through it also hypes up the performance and really builds up the theatrics of it. I love this song and how it feels, but I just wish that for the finale song, Elena threw in at least a couple of death screams for nostalgia's sake. It's supposed to be a gift. It was supposed to be the ending. I wish that there was something thrown in that gave us a bit more nostalgia. But moving on to fittingness, The Gift is perfect as the map itself was supposed to be a gift for the zombies community. The song reflects this in starting again with that music box noise to remind us of Samantha and how we got there. And even the song itself feels more like a Black Ops 1 song than anything else, sending waves of nostalgia my way. It doesn't feel like Dead Ended, Dead Again, all of those. It feels more like an abracadabra. The song fits the map very well as well, and I think it just needed more explicit references to what is happening beyond I Want You Dead. Speaking of, the only major lore to be found within the song is seemingly through the eyes of either Monty or the Shadow Man, or even both. But I wish that was dealt with more deeply than just, I hate you, and I want you to die. Like, it's cool and fairly significant to hear, but I just wished for a tiny bit. And in this category, I was going to give it a 2 out of 4, but I gave it an extra point because this song gave resolution to a very interesting theme I noticed and noted on very briefly and Dead Ended. I feel like it was intentional, but maybe it wasn't. But the maps, and by extension the songs themselves, really felt like they were reflecting the different stages of grief. The giant was denial, refusal to accept the past, and claiming that there is a way to move forward past the past itself. And this is reflected by a remix of a song from the past to be more upbeat. Dreisendrasa is bargaining, as the map literally ends with Debsy pleading with Richthofen to be involved in his scheme, and more significantly, initiates the idea that Richthofen had bargained with Dr. Monty and believes that by sending their souls, they can somehow escape their fate. Dead Again, the song, reflects this, as it shows understanding of the pain and death-filled loops, but also displays the desperation, especially through the lyrics, "You lead and I will follow." That's about depression. This is the most obvious of the fact that you can hear that theme through the song Dead Flowers. And second most obvious is right after that, Gorod Krovi displaying anger in the song itself, as I described previously. And finally, Revelations, and by extension the gift, shows the ideas of acceptance perfectly. Both the map and the song accept the past, and by the end of our quest, even accept our fate in this loop that we find ourselves in. Granted, Black Ops 4 changed that, but the theme still seems to be present. I may just be reading way too into things, hence why I only gave it the 1 extra point in its lore, but regardless, I think it's cool. The 1, Shino Numa. Catchiness, 14 out of 20. Fittingness, 3 out of 6. Lore significance, 2 out of 4. Bonus point, 1. Overall, 19 out of 30. The 1 is okay. It's very much middle of the road, and I think is a good indicator for a decent song. It gets repetitive fast, it doesn't do anything unique, it honestly sounds like a couple of the other songs. And despite being one of the original 3 Easter egg songs, it's very forgettable. And I know that's kind of controversial to say, but even compared to just the song before it, Lullaby of a Dead Man, it sounds too much like it. It's not enough different. Not much I could say, but besides the fact that it's a mid-song, it's very middle of the road. Fittingness and lore significance get similar 50% scores, as all it really describes is that you are here to kill me. Yes, hello, it's me, zombie. Like, that's it. That's all it's saying. It doesn't really get much more. However, it does give our first perspective into the zombies themselves, so it has to get at least some points for that. Same goes for fittingness. It may not fit Shino Numa much lyrically, but the long instrumentals and solos do fit the vibe of a zombie-slaying swamp perfectly, in my opinion. And going back, rereading the script, I have to say that I bagged on the 1 a little more than I intended. I didn't really touch on the positives of the 1, and I just ended the rating there. So I wanted to add this. The catchiness score was a 14 out of 20, not a 10 out of 20. This is a C tier song, not a D tier one. This song is above average. Slightly, but still above average. It's catchy and good for the occasional listen, I just want to say that. However, I stand by my statement that it is unoriginal sounding. And yes, I understand that might be a bad take, since I'm only comparing it to the second Easter egg song to ever exist, but it sounds a lot like it. And compared to other songs like it that come in the future, the 1 just seems uncreative compared to them. It's very one note. And in short, good song, but could have used more. Oh, and one last thing to note, however, is bonus point. For its activation, since it stands to be one of the creepiest Easter egg song activations, and if not the most memorable. You literally answer a phone call in a radio hut and someone answers it. Not only that, but then they very creepily whisper, "I know when you are sleeping." It's a reference to lyrics in the song, but also raises a lot of questions. Questions I don't really want to know the answer to. It's very cool, very creepy. Beauty of Annihilation, the original. Riese. Whatever. Catchiness, 18 out of 20. Fittingness, 6 out of 6. Lore significance, 4 out of 4. Overall, 28 out of 30. The gold standard for Easter egg songs. This is the best that World at War has to offer, and it's still one of the best lore-heavy, thematic, and catchy songs. The 115 before 115, Beauty of Annihilation, is an incredible song. Very similarly, the opening of the song is so engaging and iconic, but rather than coming in hard like 115, it builds up the melody insanely well and drops us into 4 incredibly creepy and somber lines. Reading into the lines themselves really exemplifies the lore that was stuffed into the song. And each line actually refers to each of the 4 main characters and serves as a soft introduction to them. I say soft because this isn't even the first map they're introduced in, and World of War even has character bios for them. But regardless, this is a great tidbit of lore, and it's all within the first 30 seconds. The rest of the song goes down very similar bits of lore, all while sounding incredible and not out of place. What is not out of place in this song, and what is not out of place, is the song in Riese. That was horrible transition. I should fire my writer. Jesus Christ. Wait, I'm right. Again, other than relating to the soft introduction, these characters have this, oh my god, my writing is horrible. What am I saying? The heavy metal feeling matches quite literally the heavy metal vibe of Riese's, a literal heavy metal factory. God, that was terrible. Oh my god. Anyways, this song is just as intense as the map itself in all the best of ways. I should have just said that. It may be a controversial placement putting it this high up, but in my opinion, it's just the best intro song to Zombies music other than 115. I said intro song. I should just rewrite this entry. I'm keeping this in because this is absurd. Intro song? This is the best Easter egg song in Zombies other than 115 and was my personal introduction to Zombies. Followed shortly by Lullaby of a Dead Man, as I said. God, that was rough. Beauty of Annihilation, the remix. Catchiness, 16 out of 20. Fittingness, 6 out of 6. Lore significance, 4 out of 4. Overall, 26 out of 30. A tier. This is getting weird with how some of these songs are lining up. I literally used a random number generator to determine like which song to rate next. This is very weird. Anyways, next is the remix to Beauty of Annihilation. It's going to be a very controversial rating because I've heard so many people talk about how much they dislike this song, and I often hear that this song is incredibly inferior, underwhelming, or overall just bad compared to the original. And I'm here to end the slander. It's a good song, and I won't let anyone tell me otherwise. The remix isn't overwhelming, and it takes the message of the original and turns it on its head incredibly well. Much like the crew itself in this map, the song goes from an over-the-top metal anthem to a song with a somber beginning, with soft piano, and gives us the feeling of tension and seriousness rather than kick-ass nonsense, much like the dichotomy between Ultimus and Primus, Riese, and the Giant. And much like our crew is still our crew in its core, the song quickly picks up the pace and starts playing the anthem that we are all very familiar with. That said, I do have to dock a point because it's just not quite as good as the original. It's close, in my opinion, but it's still not as good. I can agree with that. I also have to dock another point because it is also a remix rather than an original song. This map is supposed to kick off the overall storyline of Black Ops 3. Alongside Shadows of Evil, these two maps come together to show us a prologue and introduction to what is to come. It's a bit of new mixed with a bit of old, and it fits perfectly with the setting being Riese again, and although I think it's a huge positive, not everything needed to be the exact same. I think smaller details around the map, like the Easter egg song, should have been original, or at least more different. It's not a huge deal, so I'll only docked another point from its catchiness score. However, as I'm sure you can tell from my mini rant, the lore significance and fittingness get perfect scores, much like its predecessor. It's also for similar reasons. It set up our characters well, their goals, and even the situation they are in. Although they are the same lyrics in the song, the music itself is different, giving a complete different meaning and message to the same lyrics, which perfectly mirrors the characters and setting itself. It's a familiar face, but completely different internal motivations. Great song, both rhythmically and relating to the map it comes from.
Systems here.
I am the well. Alpha Omega. Catchiness 3 out of 20. Fittingness 1 out of 6. Lore significance 2 out of 4. Overall 6 out of 30. F tier. So I gotta be completely honest with you. I think this might be my least favorite zombie song. Now, we aren't done with the list yet, but dude, I wanted to turn it off after the first verse. I'm sorry if this is one of your favorites, but it's so one-dimensional. It feels like Nova is singing the same note for 4.5 minutes, and it is just non-stop lyrics. There is just never a break for the music to just speak for itself. And even if it did, you wouldn't hear anything. It doesn't do anything unique. It was just kind of the same or similar chord progression throughout most of the song without really developing it in any sort of appealing way. It sounded like a worse version of many other zombie songs. And the worst part is that it didn't even really feel like a zombie song. Like, what the fuck is he on about in this song? I have no idea what is happening. And like I said, it just comes off as a mess of lyrics that I just don't vibe with. I'm starting to think that maybe I don't like Nova as a singer, but then again, Dead Ended is an S tier. So maybe it's just that Nova is the most polar singer of the main three. He's either F, C, or S tier, with very little to no in between. Now, as for the lore, there might be something there if you look like really hard into the lyrics, but you gotta squint real hard. You have to be looking for it, and like nothing really stuck out to me while I was listening and reading the lyrics. But maybe I can see hints of something if I really focused. But the real travesty is the fittingness. I give it a 1. It doesn't remind me of Primus or Ultimus. It doesn't have a message that makes me think of them. And even the music behind the lyrics doesn't remind me of them at all. The only reason I give it a 1 is because I felt bad. I didn't want to give it a 5 in total score, but honestly, it probably deserves it. Big yikers on this one. I mean, like, it just sucks. Oh, also, this is the Easter egg song for Alpha Omega, if you didn't catch that. I don't think the map is nearly as bad as people in the zombie community say, but this song being absolute trash is really, really not helping its case. What is he on about? What is the well? Why is he the well? What does it mean? Whatever. F tier.
Shift in our audio.
Finally, some good music. Always Running, Buried. Catchiness, 17 out of 20. Fittingness, 6 out of 6. Lore significance, 2 out of 4. Overall, 25 out of 30. A tier. Now, if you've been paying attention so far, you'll know that typically a song gets less points in catchiness if it's too long or too short. and I typically like them in the 3 to 5 minutes maximum range. Always Running, however, is the exception to that. It does a perfect job of hypnotically keeping me enthralled in Maluka's voice, as she so often does. The beat is so simple, it's so catchy, and I love the spiritual feeling it gives. It is quintessentially buried, and the lyrics are so slow in a beautifully haunting way that makes it very easy to sing along to. The only gripes I have with it is that the chorus does get a little long and a little repetitive, and I do wish that the song did a little bit more elsewhere. I don't know, it just felt like it could have used that extra push. Not much to say about Always Running when it comes to catchiness, besides it's a solid song, and that my favorite part has to be the ending, where it does build up, and it really gets across that feeling of anxiety and paranoia the song is trying to get across. But let me talk about the lowest score it got first, before singing more praises on it. The lore significance is only a 2, and it's for the same reasons as We All Fall Down and Carry On and all of the other Victus songs. The song is essentially saying, we need to survive, or else we're gonna die. It didn't really tell us anything new or significant, and for that, it only got a 2. It's the same score as We All Fall Down. But where it gets mega points, is that this song is one of the most fitting songs of any Easter egg song, up there with the likes of Not Ready to Die and Snakeskin Boots, and it does so in a way that the other two do very differently. It relies almost entirely on the music rather than the lyrics. And the music in the background, the instruments, it portrays this perfect image of a barren desert and loneliness, hopelessness, and even a spooky ghostliness, and those haunting lyrics and long melodies. I mean, when I hear it, I think of a haunted house, which perfectly fits the vibe that Buried is going for. And so I mean it when I say that this song encapsulates the feeling of Buried perfectly.
I sure hope.
A Light from the Shore, Toten. Catchiness, 15 out of 20. Fittingness, 5 out of 6. Lore significance, 0 out of 4. Bonus points, 2. Overall, 22 out of 30. I think that this song, much like the map it's from, is heavily slept on. I know pure, non-lyrical soundtrack music is not everyone's cup of tea, but this one is really good. It's a collage of many different motifs and themes from zombies throughout the year, and it blends them together in a very fluid way that is still very catchy. It's very surprising how well it's done, and the song has a way of not only making you jam out, but making you think and reminisce on the years of zombies that came before. It sets the mood and sends off zombies in a very sick series of guitar solos, signing off zombies very poetically in a way very similar to how it started. And I had to give a bonus point to this because, and I don't know if it was intentional, but making the last song in Zombies a pure instrumental, just like the first song in Zombies, WTF, it's a very poetic sign-off and a very interesting choice. I think it deserves a bonus point because of it. And again, I don't think that it was an intentional, if I'm being honest, and I would have preferred a lyrical sign-off like The Gift, but as we all know, BO4 didn't exactly get the time and love it deserved. So I will just enjoy what we got. And I have to give another bonus point because the activation of the song is so incredibly cool. You do interact with 3 objects like in any other map, but the objects themselves is what makes it so cool. They are the 3 weapons that were used in the original Call of the Dead intro cutscene. You activate a sickle, a pitchfork, and a machete. Really cool reference, and I think deserves a unique Easter egg activation bonus point. Now, lore-wise, I have to give the song a 0 because it doesn't add anything. Even atmospherically, it doesn't build anything since this is just a remix of previous motifs. However, this does give it points in the fittingness category. Since it is a collection of motifs, it fits very well as a finale song. But it just does it very differently than how Gift did it in BO3. But besides, sharing that ending guitar solo during the end of the Easter egg in Toten is so good, and it's such a hype moment, even if it would have been better if there was an actual boss fight. Regardless, Light from the Shore did a great thing, and I wish more people gave it a listen.